Welcome to Contemporary Black Voices, where we take on the most important issues confronting Black America. I am your host for today's show, the writer Fred, and with me today are my fellow panelists, Professor Dr. Sharon Michael Chadwell, and business entrepreneur and community leader Chris Dawkins. Our fourth member of this dynamic team, the New York Times bestselling author Caleb Alexander, this very moment is boarding a cruise ship with his wife Jennifer on their way to a 7-day enjoyable journey over the waters of the Caribbean. Today, our subject matter is one that I believe is most important to the cultural sustainability of Black America. We will discuss the plight of Black libraries and their importance as a reservoir of our history. Within the culture, there are many different entities. One compared to the heart are the churches, and compared to the brain are libraries. No doubt the library has led the way in the intellectual development of our culture. The 135th Street Library in Harlem was the center of most of the growth during the Harlem Renaissance, and the George Cleveland Hall Branch Library in Chicago served the same purpose in that city. Here in San Antonio, we are proud of our Carver Branch Library that this year celebrated its 50th anniversary of serving our community. So with us today is the man responsible for the continuing expansion of Carver, Dr. D.L. Grant, director of the library, to discuss with us the future of libraries, especially the Carver in Black America. Welcome, Dr. Grant, to Contemporary Black Voice.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, tell our viewers a little about you. I know you're humble, but you can put the humility aside right now. Just tell them the greatness about D.L. Grant, because I've known you a long time.
D.L. Grant, manager of the Carver, I like to say the historic Carver Branch Library, which did turn 50 years. But actually, that's kind of misleading. Okay, the building that we're in now turned 50 years. It was designed by legendary architect, African-American architect, Norcell D. Haywood. Shout out, Mr. Haywood. We love your design. But before that, we opened in 1929, 1930 over there on Hackberry Street in that Carver Community Cultural Center.
Oh, okay.
That state-of-the-art performing event center, performing arts center.
Oh, okay.
That was where we opened with Mrs. Prudence Curry, a pioneering African-American librarian. She was our director.
You know, that's interesting because you have the 135th and Lenox Avenue, the famous library, which is now the Schomburg Center for Research. Now you have the connection to the Chicago Library, and then you bring it around back to the Carver. They're all connected with one goal, I believe, the sustainability of our Black culture. So, Dale, tell our viewers about the importance of the libraries in our communities to sustaining their importance to our culture.
They're very important to our culture. A lot of times we have to fight for that library. So right there, let's just begin right there. We have to fight for this library that we inhabit. Nothing was given to you. So when you get a library in your community, you need to support it, and they did support it. But now things are changing. People feel like they can do research on their own, and we get that. You have Google, you have your little phone. But what you can also do is you can also sustain your library and a whole bunch of other things by continuing to visit your library. Because visitation should not be dropping off. When we can do services, children's services, we can have story times and activities for your children to help them to grow and thrive. You'll appreciate that as an educator. So, and even we guide them through the teen years. We have age-based services for children, teens, so we have activities for them too. And then we have adult services too. So we're there, we can do whatever you want. We're there to advocate for you. We're not going to sit behind the desk and shush you. That we don't do that. Public libraries are largely community centers now. We can do we have all kinds of programming, and sometimes it can get a little bit loud. We're not an academic library. The public library is not an academic library. You can talk in there. Come in, let us advocate for you. Tell us the thing. What about your culture do you want to preserve?
Yes.
Because we have people who have been trained to do these things. So if you want to learn how to do it, or you want us to do it, that's what our job is. Our job is to do that, is to stay in cultures. I did research on this, and what we find out is when you do come into a community, you do owe it to the public to find out about like who came first, who was there, why. It's what was great about the community. Well, we want to help tell those stories and preserve those stories, and we want to document who was there, what did they do, what is the legacy. I'll go on and on and on.
Okay. I think Dr. Chapel.
One of the questions that kind of has been floating around in my mind is the impact of gentrification on inner city libraries. And what do you do to navigate those challenges?
You have to do planning, and librarians need to be watching who is coming into the library, and you have to talk to people when they come into the library because you need to know what's going on. You cannot just drive up and walk in. You have to watch what's going on. You have to pay attention to as you're driving into the community. Who are we serving? And sometimes due to phenomena such as gentrification, you might have to do some planning and some reevaluation of what your mission and what your goals are, because in a lot of our neighborhoods, even there's a kind of a cultural shift. Mm-hmm. So, okay, what do you do about that? Does that mean the library is a library with a primarily African American focus is no longer useful because the community is changing? No, because that is a disservice to those folks who were in the community, who helped get that library launched. So you have to always remember, okay, things are changing, but I still have to honor the legacy of those who came first. So yeah, gentrification, bring it. I mean, neighborhoods are supposed to change, but what we have to remain true to is the legacy. And that is a nice way of, I think, marrying those two things that happen, the cultural shift with preserving the past.
Okay, thank you.
Chris, I think you had a question.
Yeah, let me ask you a very important question. I think I have two, but the most important question is, tell us what the library can give you that you can't get anyplace else.
Where can you go? Can you tell your cell phone or your little Google search to, I'd be interested in you planning an event. Could we tailor an event around the youth in my neighborhood? Or I have an idea. I wonder if the library, see, you can't do that. You walk into your library, you are talking to a person. I can open up the calendar right there and I can say, look, we have a day open right now. How are you going to work with me to develop this program so we could bring it to the people? That's just one thing. I go on and on and on about the things that we could do in the library. We could sit back and we can have community meetings there, and we can kind of brainstorm and work together. Okay, if you saw there was an issue in the community, well, let's see. Well, maybe we could bring in local leadership in there. We could bring the groups together. See, all that can happen in real time. You come in there, you tell me, you sit down with me, and we begin discussing, okay, what can we do? How can we work together? And see, that's how we keep the community and the library stronger, because I have buy-in from you, and then you have the skills that that the librarians have. We can bring that back to you. See, we work together and we're networking. We're networking.
I noticed one thing when all of a sudden there was a lot of people coming in to use the computers, and it dawned on me, there is a lot of our people who don't have computers at home. Mm-hmm. And we kind of take it for granted, and we shouldn't. And you could always go in there, those computers are popping.
They are.
And that is definitely a service to the community. Yeah.
See, that's your tax dollars at work. Why wouldn't you come in there? You've already paid for it. So that's something, it's free. Yeah. Open to the public. Sometimes, okay, you want to use computers, you need printing. These are very critical needs in the community. We also have with San Antonio Public, we have what we call learn centers, where we have actual classrooms in there. So in addition to you using, access to the internet, which everybody has to have, that's not a luxury anymore. That's a need. So a necessity, absolutely. You can also visit our Learn Center. So maybe you want to realize your ambitions of being something else, or maybe you don't know how to use that phone you have, or maybe your computer skills are not where you want them to be. The library pays an instructional technician to tell you how to do these things, to work with you. And ESL classes, they can work with you on a lot of things. The woman at the branch that I manage has a knitting and crochet class. So it's all about learning. So, and it doesn't always have to be something that's real heavy. It's what the community wants and what they will support. I cannot tell people what their wants and needs are. They have to come and tell us what those things are. Now I have to do some homework to try to figure some of this out, but we can't just have programming. Okay, I think we're all going to do. We're going to all learn how to do tiling, and so we're going to have sessions on that. And if nobody shows up, that has told me they're not interested in that. So why am I wasting my time and theirs? We have to do programming that they are interested in, that they will respond to.
You know, it's important that you all that are running these libraries that feed into our community have communication. So you have an organization, don't you? So that you can communicate with somebody in New York that's Black, someone in Philadelphia who's Black. Tell us a little about the organization.
On different levels, at the state level and at the national level, we have support. And at the local level, we have support amongst each other. If you're thinking about the national support that we have, when we want to bounce ideas or just let others know that we're out there, we have the Black Caucus of the American Library Association, which is a wonderful organization. It was established in 1970 by some librarians who realized that we were not having a seat at the table when decisions were being made with regard to libraries and information centers, and so they advocated and got that. We fall under the American Library Association. On the state level, you have the Black Caucus Roundtable of the Texas Library Association.
And you've come here a number of years, haven't you?
Yeah, and they'll be back. So we'll look forward, because when you were working with us, we brought Bernadette Stannis, who debuted her nonfiction book on her mother's life. That was great. People ate that up. That was one of our most successful sessions, and we will be back in San Antonio this spring.
Okay, so that organization is your mission is the sustainability of the Black culture, and I know you and I have gone to two of the national. We went to Cincinnati, and then we went to St. Louis.
St. Louis, yes, St. Louis.
It's a way for new authors or existing authors to introduce their books to the association.
It is, because the idea is, we support our own, because we might get what's the word? We might get ignored by everybody else, but we are not going to ignore our own. So we do there is a nod that we give to outstanding fiction and nonfiction by people that that look like us. So yeah, we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to do that, to be recognized.
And here's how the legacy, the sustainability of the legacy works. As you know, I've just finished a novel, Making My Way to Harlem.
Congratulations, you did it.
It's about the Harlem Renaissance.
Again, you've done it.
Something that everybody should know about. And so what does DL do? He says, Fred, come in and do your book release in the library. And so on, I think it's September 9th, I'm going to release my book at the Carver Library. That's the way I think it should work. I think that's the way it should work. And DL has done that year after year after. Oh, he has a fantastic Black History Month program all the time.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I have a question. Given how a lot of these Republican states, to include Texas, are pushing back against DEI and any other diversity initiatives, how is that going to impact you as a director of a library in the inner city?
The library has already been pushing back, because we've studied the situation, and we are that's the main thing that you really want to do. You want to study the situation, keep abreast of what the discussion are, but you also want to listen to the community. The community has not been telling us, take the hate you give off the shelf. Nobody has told us to do that. So we listen to, our library leadership is not telling us that we need to be removing books. So we want to provide access to people, and you cannot provide access to people if you don't allow them the choice. See, the American Library Association operates under this idea that freedom to read and freedom to access. I can't tell you what to read, and I don't want to tell you what to read, because I don't want you telling me what to read. So, even in someone's home, that should be made. If your child is reading something you don't like, that as a family, you all work that out. But the library, we can't be banning people's books or their reading materials. So no, that has not been an issue. And in a lot of libraries, in some communities where it South Texas has been very open. I'll
Can you
say
hold your
that.
point right there?
Absolutely.
We'll come back to that. We have to take my producer's he's burning up my ear. He's burning okay. All right. So we're going to take a break here and we'll come back and continue our discussion.